On digital and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
7:49. The first annual Bad Grammar Awards takes place tonight. It's the first set of awards dedicated to thoroughly examining the way we use the English language today and the state it's in. One of the people that has been judging the entries is Neville Gwynne. He's the author of Gwynne's Grammar, the ultimate introduction to grammar and the writing of good English. Was that all right, Neville?
That is right. That's the name of the book, yes.
Was the intro all right, though, grammatically?
A very nice introduction indeed. Would you like me to talk about the Grammar Awards or the grammar book?
Well, the Grammar Awards, first of all. What exactly are you judging? Over whom are you casting judgment tonight? And give us some examples of the kind of language up with which you will not put.
Up with which I will not put. Well, what we're doing is taking the best examples we can think of things written by people who should know better, who are in a position to know better because of their status, and pointing out any grammatical mistakes in what they have written, which of course is completely disgraceful because grammar's it's an exact science, but it's not a difficult science, and somebody in any sort of status who's a writer has got absolutely no business making a grammatical mistake at all. The best example, I hope nobody's listening to this, but I'll give you a little preview. The best example that's in my mind at the moment is about 3 weeks ago there was a letter written to the newspapers, published in lots of newspapers, by the top academics in England, most of them professors, and they wrote a letter saying it's completely ridiculous, Mr. Gove's efforts to teach children sort of rules and techniques like multiplication tables and grammar, because this interferes with the creativity which children ought to be spending their time on. Not only is that a disgraceful message for reasons which are too difficult to go into now, but it was written with such incompetent grammar that it just took one's breath away. And these are the top professors in England saying it's not necessary. So that will be, I would imagine, a fairly leading contender for the prize.
What about the everyday howlers?
The everyday howlers, that's a slightly different matter, because if people are taught their grammar, they're going to make mistakes. I'm not really holding them to account. It's a great pity, and it'll make a fool of themselves, poor things, if they want a job or something like that. But that's not nearly so serious as the people who actually are professional writers or professional educators. And, we've got, for instance, a slogan from a school who actually get their grammar wrong in the simplest way. That's what sort of shocks me and upsets me. And that's one of the reasons that... and I think a lot of people are, which is why my grammar book, which was just published a week or so ago, has actually reached startling levels of sales. And it's incredible to me.
Congratulations.
Get it right. I mean, it was, for instance, number 2 in Amazon yesterday, all their books, and number 10 of the Sunday Times top bestsellers are hardbacks. I mean, for a textbook, that is utterly astonishing.
Well, it just shows that there's an appetite, as in it eats, shoots and leaves. There's a real appetite for this exactitude. Let me ask you, when you're in a fish and chip shop or something and you see fish and chips has an apostrophe in it, do you go apoplectic?
No, I don't. But it's a terribly important matter because, we think with words. Without words, we can't think. Grammar is just simply how we use words. If we use words incorrectly, we're going to think incorrectly. Therefore, we're going to take the decisions on which our thinking is based incorrectly. And that's either going to be a nuisance or it's going to wreck our lives. So our actual happiness depends on grammar, even though quite often it doesn't matter because you don't know what a person... You know what a person means anyway. But sometimes it jolly well does matter because it changes the meaning. It's even worse than that, because if enough people take wrong decisions, that affects the whole of our society. And if enough societies take wrong decisions, that is the whole of civilization at stake. So you can actually argue that ultimately
our very
the
future
survival of civilization depends on everybody learning their grammar.
Yeah.
For 3,000 years of the recorded history of education, everybody used to learn first until arbitrarily it was abolished in the 1960s.
This is it. For one misplaced apostrophe, the survival of our species. Rachel wants to come in here.
Yes, Rachel.
Yes, Rachel.
Does bad grammar really wreck lives? Can you give me an example?
Well, if you it's rather difficult to think of an example off the spot. But if you have a bit of bad grammar which actually changes the meaning of something, which means that your thought is not what you want it to be, and you communicate something you don't want to communicate, that's going to affect decisions. And a decision, as I say, well, quite often you know what the person means even with bad grammar, but sometimes you jolly well don't. And I've got examples of that in my book, which I can't unfortunately call to mind. But if you take a bad decision, one bad decision can smash your life up, as you know. And therefore, you can actually argue that, in part, happiness of an individual, the survival of society, depends on grammar. And I'm not just inventing that because that's what everybody always used to know. That's why grammar schools were called grammar schools, because it's the first thing you learnt as a child. Now you don't learn it ever. And if you're totally lucky if you pick it up.
Well, it is something that has changed over the years, do you feel? I mean, do you feel if we were to go back in a time machine 40 years, everybody's grammar would be better?
Oh, absolutely, because everybody... I mean, what I put in my grammar book is simply what every schoolboy aged 9 used to know effortlessly, no matter what a school he was at, no matter what his social rank. Everybody used to know. And now suddenly we're in a position where the teachers themselves, if they ever think teachers and grammar's worth teaching, do not know what to teach and don't know how to teach it. It was a dramatic change after, as I say, the entire recorded history of education when grammar was taken first. It was a dramatic change which took place without any consultation, no consultation with anybody, including parents, in the 1960s. Bang, it ceased to be a subject at all, having been the first primary, most fundamental, most important subject of all, because everything you do depends on getting your thinking right, which in turn depends on getting your grammar right. Well, it's desperately important.
Desperately, Wes. You've sold it with passion.
Yes, and as I say...
And what about this council in the southwest of England who've decided to drop apostrophes on their road signs? Are you angry about that?
Well, obviously everybody knows what those...
You must be. I'm feeling your pain.
It's a symptom. Yeah. It's a symptom of I don't care about grammar.
Yep.
On any individual thing, it's obviously not going to matter that much, but the attitude of not actually getting your grammar right and therefore not getting your thinking right is a total disaster.
You feel the same about grammar, the way I feel about people who drop rubbish, I think, it's just... But listen, thank you for coming on.
You're on my side, are you?
Well, I hear what you say. Let's put it that. Let's put it that. I'll go as far as to say that.
I hear what you say. That means I don't agree with a single word of it. Anyway, I hope enough people do. What I will promise you is in my book is all the essentials you need to know, and including how to teach it.
It's been a huge pleasure having you on, Neville. Thank you so much. There's Neville Gwynne.
That was a delight.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was.